Welcome to today's stream. For those of you who do not know me, I am Steve Lorello. I'm the .NET Developer Advocate here at Redis. And today I am going to be continuing on with some of the work I've been doing on some of the .NET client libraries for Redis. In particular, this week we're going to be working at Redis OM .NET, which is kind of my the library that I wrote to do object mapping and more, and doing object mapping and searching in Redis using a native .NET API. So let's get started. So there have been a few questions that came in over the weekend, and actually I think I'm going to start off by going through some of these. I think that could be an interesting exercise. Go through some of the issues that have come in over the last week. And we do have a pending release of Redis OM .NET. For those of you who have been following along, if you go into it's not in here. Yeah, here we go. You can see some of the stuff that we have coming out. We have a new feature allowing you to add TTLs to keys as they are published, as they're set in Redis OM. We have the ability now to invert your contains queries with collections and arrays. So previously, if you had a collection of items that were stored in a document in Redis, you would be able to use contains to see if the item was in that collection. Now you can have a collection of items outside of Redis that you want to see if Redis matches one of those items, and you can do a .contains in there. And I just realized I am committing that cardinal sin of not sharing my screen. So this inverted contains query is that thing, and we were working on that a few weeks ago. It's a question that I've been asked about kind of a lot, and just as soon as the PR for revving the version to 0.2.2 is approved, this will be rolling out, and I'll be releasing that. Some more stuff coming up. We had a great contribution from someone from the community adding FT info. Frostshocks here. They've engaged with me in Discord. They've engaged in this repository, and they kind of needed this FT info command supported by Redis OM, and they opened a PR and was happy to merge it, and no work for me, so I just merged it, and that's going to be coming out soon. And yeah, so another one that we get asked about sometimes, in not like the most direct way, mind you, but the ability to configure stop words in Redis on an index in Redis. So for background, when you're enabling full text search in Redis search, the index basically ignores a certain set of words. These are called stop words. And when you're querying Redis search, you assume that those stop words have been stripped out. And it'll actually, like when it's parsing out, stuff to send to Redis, what it's parsing out the query to Redis, it basically skips over those stop words, and they can cause weird syntax errors in Redis search if the stop words haven't been configured correctly. But yes, anyway, we have this we've added this, and another thing that people have been asking about is the ability to find multiple items given multiple IDs, and I added that a few weeks ago on the stream. So anyway, today there's been a couple issues that got open in GitHub over the weekend that I'm probably going to just kind of look at and respond to throughout this. And I mean, I guess this can be somewhat instructive because it'll show you some of my process for looking at these. So this one is kind of interesting. This person, Haiku, I'm calling, that's what I'm calling their name. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Best guess. They have a robot profile picture, so I don't really know much about them, other than they opened this issue in against Redis. And they had a bunch of queries that they were trying to execute against Redis that were producing really not any results, or they were causing syntax errors. And the reasons for these were, a multitude, and mostly The fundamental problem actually was the way that they were indexing here. So let's go over to their repository because they were nice enough to open a repository for me to look at when I was, parsing all of this. And if you go into here, you see that they have two classes. They have actor and movie. Okay. Now, a movie can have a single actor, and they can also has a list of actors. So I guess a single actor in this context would be like, who's the prime actor on this thing? Like, who's the star of the show? And the list of actors is perhaps like a list of like other actors that are in here. And this exposes this nested actor object right here. And the issue that they had, the main issue, was that the ID here, and you'll see it in the original version because I think they pushed the new update. This ID was an integer, and it was listed as indexed. And so what that meant was you were trying to create this multi-value index of actors that had this numeric value ID as one of the values, or as one of the values you were trying to index. And apparently this was causing an indexing failure in Redis, and basically they were trying to insert, I think it was the interview with a vampire. They would insert two actors in here, actor 1 and actor 2. So Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise famously were in an interview with the vampire. Ironically, the was causing that stop words issue to propagate like we were talking about before. I don't know why. A little bit of Anne Rice nerdery here, but I don't know why it's the vampire, because Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise both play vampires, and they have a vampire daughter, so it's not the vampire. They have multiple vampires involved here. But anyway, interview with the vampire. The is a stop word. So when they were trying to search for the vampire, it was kind of blowing up their search queries. So that was another thing they had to fix. But anyway, because they had two actors in here, and their IDs were numeric, the way that that Redis was generating the index was with this ID path, this array, as an array of numerics, which isn't a valid way to do it. So if I open up Redis, I guess I probably have to run Docker first, don't I? Make this bigger for people. So if I run Docker, I open up the CLI and I do a ft.create, and I create test on JSON schema ID IDs obj.id as ID numeric, and then I do an ft.create, or not ft.create, JSON.set test:1, pass in the base path, which is the $, and I do obj, and then in here I'll have objects ID 1. This is actually find the search. So I can do an ft.search test, and it'll come back with a thing. But if I added test 2 and I passed in another object, and I try to search for this now, it still only gives me the 1. And the reason for that is if I open up the index, if I take a look at the index, if I do ft.info on test, you'll see that there was a hash index failure, and that was the cause of this. So the solution was to set this as a string, and I actually think that I think I pointed this out in the issue that this is probably an error on our part. We should probably be validating these a little bit better. So not be indexed. Yeah, so I think probably the issue here is that when this invalid type is being created, perhaps it'd be wise for Redis OM to throw an error. My only hesitancy with doing that is that we hope to have multi-value indexing of the other types. I think all three, geo, text, and numeric, at some point in the near future with Redis search. So I'm not sure it behooves us to do that right now. But if that reality becomes permanent, then maybe it'd be something to look into doing and perhaps doing that. Unfortunately, it's just a weird corner case for now. But anyway, they pretty much got up and running with everything. They had one question about searching for a prefix at the end, and I gave them an answer to that. Basically, for prefix searches for now, we have to kind of drop down to the lower level API, and maybe that's something else we should do. Another issue that came in over the weekend, which I haven't kind of looked at yet, but I think it's probably worth looking at, is this one right here. So if you execute this query, it will fail with this index error. So they have, I'm assuming, a customer's collection, so collection of different customer objects, and they are basically checking to see if the nicknames array, so nicknames in this case would be an array or list of strings, contains either Jim or John. And when they do that, this creates an error. So let's look at this. Let's look at this exact scenario, actually. So Rider, I'm going to open up Rider real quick. Open up the Redis OM project. And if I close all these tabs, and if I go to search functional tests, that would probably be the best place to look for this. So nope, in here. So I'll look at search functional tests, and my cap lock is on. Public async task test multiple contains. I don't know why this keeps happening. That side window keeps popping up for some weird reason. So if we have a collection, so var collection equals new Redis collection person, and pass the connection. And that's the wrong thing. Now, if I gave Alice nicknames, and I gave Bob just some nicknames, Bobby, Rob. Well, let's actually change Bob's name to Robert, and then Bob can be a nickname. And then I inserted those into the collection. So I did collection.insert async person1. Wait. await collection dot insert async person 2, and I did a collection here, x dot names dot contains Bob for x dot nicknames dot contains Al, Ali. Oh wait, or not wait. Oh wait. And let me just make sure now that people dot contains people dot any assert dot any true. True people dot any dot I'm sure Writer has a okay, there we go. All right. And that should be enough to reproduce this issue. And sure enough, it does fail. So syntax error at offset 20 near nicknames. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's look and see what's going on in Redis. Monitor. Did anyone catch that? I didn't catch it. So let me try it again. Debug test. Okay. That doesn't look that unreasonable. What am I missing here? Do these both need to have parentheses? Okay, that's what it is. So these predicates both need parentheses in that case. All right, so why isn't this being routed correctly? Because there's like a specific thing when the query is being serialized that it is supposed to wrap the predicates in parentheses. So these aren't properly grouped, which is why this is happening. So let's figure this out now. Translator.append. Okay. I bet you it's something happening somewhere in here. Or rather, it's not happening. It's not happening in here. Okay, so wait, where's left content coming from and where's right content coming from? Okay, so I need to restart this. Um, so this is live coding with Steve, where Steve just runs his debugger. Ah, geez, that's annoying. It just so I tell it to rerun it and just reruns everything. Come on, Ryder, I expect better from you. Oh, that's so annoying. Hold on, debug. All right. So this left content is going. It has the left expression here. So translate method standard query syntax. So then it gets going to the standard translate contains standard query syntax. And yeah, I'm wondering if probably the right thing to do here is to have this reply. Yeah. Okay. I think the thing here. Yeah, I think this has got to be wrapped up in a parenthesis. I think that's the problem. And I bet you this is going to actually break some of my other tests, but not in a way that's consequential. So if I run that now, it should work. All right. There we go. But I bet you that it's going to break something else. Yeah, I bet you it's all these tests in search tests. This is actually exactly where I would have expected it to break, because there's like going to be very slight differences in the way that these are being generated. Yeah, so like this is going to become this, and that's fine as long as that's all that's breaking is like some very minor differences in the expressions that are being created by this. Like that's okay. Uh-huh. Again, I'm perfectly comfortable with this. With this. Like I ordinarily don't like changing anything that I've written a test for, just because like these are all supposed to be regressions and make sure I didn't break anything. But like in this case, this is not like a regression break because it's just that it's adding extra grouping into these queries, and that's okay, at least in my opinion. Yep. I bet you now everything should work. Apparently, except for one. What is still broken? Oh, I bet you it's supposed to be on the other side. Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's that issue. That's that issue in a nutshell. And I think that should do it. There's this one test that's broken here. And this is okay, actually. Because This only works if I have this specialized Sentinel deployment that I wrote for Redis OM working. So we'll just call that a day. So get status. Oh shoot, I'm on main. I'm not on main, aren't I? Um, um, bug fix, properly group method calls. Stash hi. Ah, shoot. So my man. I mean, that's fair. That is indeed fair. Do a little bit of legwork here and add this is a effect as well as a closing parenthesis for that. Then my expression parser utilities is going to have some similar issues. I'm thinking I probably want to keep the upstream here and then just apply the fix. Yeah, now I'm going to just keep the upstream and then just here. Okay. So let me just run all these tests again. What broke? Oh yeah, and the thing that um that doesn't quite seem right, does it? So nicknames contain Steve. Yeah, because explicitly what I want is this. Yeah, that ain't right. So let's take a look and see. It's probably not hitting the place I think it is. Maybe it's breaking off earlier. Oh yeah, because I added a bunch of logic up here. Did that do it? All right, cool. I did it. I think the only question I still have before I sort of ship this thing, there is that weird thing that the minus is outside the parenthesis. So I want to make sure that this is like a valid query. Oh, no, it is a valid query. No, that's okay. Okay, cool. So this is ready to go. All right, and just like that, I have fixes 191. Closed by improperly grouped by weird query language parsing issue resolvable. Yeah. Proper grouping with parentheses. All right. Development. I'll do that. All right. Wait. So that actually took me a lot less time than I thought it would. I mostly just, I didn't look at the issue beforehand. Now let's respond back. There we go. See, we get through something on stream, which is always a lot of fun. Which one to work on next? So this is a question that came from Charles about basically this is running. So when you're using a Redis collection, he's using like a Redis collection to enumerate multiple sets of collections of objects. And what's happening is actually as he's enumerating from two of them at the same time. So like you see how they have risk answer record twice, which I think are two different Redis collections. And they are running basically the same query on both of those concurrently. And I think what's happening is as it's paginating and building out the state manager underneath it, it's the one state manager has already added the particular key that's being paginated over, and the other state manager tries to add it, and then it blows up with this key has already been added error. And he's saying it's like, maybe it would be a good idea to use concurrent dictionary instead for this. My response was basically that these aren't really supposed to be thread safe, the collections, because you're only really supposed to be using one of the, they're supposed to be relatively transient. Um, on the other hand, though, it's probably not a terrible idea to not throw weird exceptions out when you're enumerating multiple collections at the same time. So his point about um, using something concurrent might not be a bad one. And let's see what he actually wrote a comment not too long ago. So that brings me up the interesting case in that I'm not even using an internal state. In fact, the operation is purely a read-only task. Maybe it'd be helpful and more optimized if I could tell Redis OM that I would like to skip the internal state management for this call. I think I remember Entity Framework having an option like this as well as a Fluent as node tracking. And I actually think that's an interesting feature to add to Redis OM .NET. So basically what he's saying is enumerate it in the enumerator, but don't add it to the state manager. And I think that's actually kind of valid because it would actually make it would make the state manager, so one of the problems with the state manager is it uses you basically have to enumerate the entire collection that you've queried. And if that's a lot of data, then your state managers become really big. So I actually think he's really onto something here. So let's actually do that. So I'm going to get checkout main, get checkout the feature stateless collections. So yeah, and I think all I really need to do for this, the enumerator is at the end of the day the thing that, so the enumerator for the collection. So if I go into searching, you see this Redis collection enumerator. This is the thing that gets the state manager, and the state manager is the thing that is added to. So you can see in concatenate records here, basically it's doing all this. Now, I think all I really need to do in order to prevent it from enumerating records and like leaving them in the state manager is to add a Boolean private bool save state. And in here, save state, add this Boolean. And then what I'm going to use a state manager. If no. Yeah, I think if not save state return. Yeah. And it is very particular about how this is all handled. Yeah, I think that would actually be sufficient for our purposes here. And then, do I have another constructor? Yeah, I'll make that read only. That's good. So private read only bool save state. Probably wants me to move this further up. I'll move that up there. And when I'm initializing this, my Redis collection is also going to need a save state. which is going to be initialized here. All right, I don't want this to be a binary break. So public Redis collection. Redis collection. Connection. 100. Will okay. So this is just all dandy. So yeah, I think this is working in. All right. Cool. So that'll do that. And then in here, we're just passing in the save state. And then I think importantly, if you call save or save async, that should probably throw an invalid operation exception. What errors is this thing still complaining about? Probably because this hasn't been comments yet. Cool. All right. So now I think when we call save, I think it's important here that if not save state, it should throw new invalid operation exception saying Redis collection. The Redis collections collection has been instructed to not maintain the state of records enumerated by Redis, making the intent to save invalid. Redis collection with save state set to true to save documents in Redis collection. Let's put this off across a couple lines because this is really bulky. And then I'll do the same thing. Save async. We'll have to write tests for those when it's time. All right. So that takes care of that. And then the last thing we need to do is in the Redis connection provider. We need overloads for now let's Redis collection. We're not going to have in the final version of this. I'm going to chunk size be optional. That way we make it very crystal clear that that is the overload that we're looking for. So then in Redis connection provider, I'll leave it as overloadable. No, I think I was right about my initial instinct. I was right. Pull that out. And here. I think that's all I should need to do. Uh-huh. So I go to search functional tests. And I think the first thing I should do is like test a case that should fail. That should fail for save. So var collection equals new Redis collection. Connection. False. Sure, 100. Assert that throws a sync invalid operation exception. Conduct save async. Yep. And then so both of those failure pieces do work. Let me just go into here and just pull out the text for this. Var All right, let's see if that works. Awesome. So it does the thing. I bet you that Probably am initializing this the wrong way. Um, yeah, well, why is this interesting? So why is that happening? That's an interesting question. So if we go to the enumerator, yeah, so why is this false when it should be true? Let's find out. So save state's false here. Save state was false right there. But yeah, shouldn't the save state should be true there. What's this is save state. Still true. Okay. Weird. That's really weird. Oh, I bet you because it's being initialized here too. All right. So this probably also needs a save state. Cool. I bet you that is the problem. Is it the default for it should be false, which is annoying, but it's the reality of our situation here. Do I need to add save state? Yeah, I think I'm probably going to add it to the to here too. So we'll save state gets collection is meant to save the state of the records enumerated into it. Um, yeah, so I actually don't need this anymore. I have this. Save state. Um, add inherit doc. Constructor. And then down here, instead of using not underscore save state, I'll use save state. Uh-huh. All right. And then this is going to light up a bunch of errors in here. Where now, all I need to do is say source.saveState. 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 Down here, same thing. And one more time. That should do it. All right. So that did it. Uh-huh. Okay. All right, let's make sure that this hasn't actually saved anything. And it hasn't. Sweet. I think that's sufficient, actually. So it's actually kind of a nice improvement because it prevents you from having to worry about whether you're slamming a ton of data into your Redis collections. So the only thing that's going to be relatively big are your lists and things that you've enumerated directly out of there, which I think you should be able to account for in your map. So let's add all this stuff. Allows users to not save enumerated data in the state manager. All right. Yeah, so I'll open this. To configure this. Whether or not to have said story. All right, is there anything else that has come up? Yeah, this one didn't really provide me good details on what that was supposed to be. I don't know about this one. Kind of goes that. I think that's kind of everything I wanted to look at issue wise today. Um, so maybe we could try something a little different and see if I can get started at least on extending Redis OM a little bit, because there's a couple of use cases where I thought it'd be interesting to um, try to extend Redis OM into other areas. And there's actually some roots of this inside the Redis OM um, .NET POC source code itself. So I'll try to resurrect some of that and see if we can get anything going here. And the answer is probably not, at least not today. But here comes the dog. What's going on, honey? Sorry, my dog, honey, has decided to come on camera for the day. How you doing? So if we look at the POC here, I wanted to see, like, is there a way I could implement a kind of a neat Redis stream using the stuff that exists in Redis OM, particularly like the serialization stuff that exists already? Because a stream is essentially like is almost like a log object of hashes that are piling through. And I think it'd be really neat to have a templated Redis stream. And so I'm gonna play around with this again and see where I can get it today. And this is not a feature that's coming anytime soon, I'm sure, to Redis OM, but it's been something I've been really interested in doing. So, and I'll just leave this off probably on another branch for now. Let's think about this. What do I want to do? All right, I could check out me again. Check out B. Streams. Look who it is. Hey, Deshaun. Deshaun joined the party. How's it going? Looks like you had fun at the VMware conference this week, or last week, was it? Welcome. Yeah, so I'm interested in how, like, what can we possibly do with this? And I guess the thing to first do is it's a pretty new console app. .NET new test Redis OM streams. CD test Redis OM streams. .NET new SLN test Redis OM streams. Oh, I need a -n in here. .NET new console -n test Redis OM streams. It went way better than expected. Very enjoyable. Oh, that's good to hear, man. That's good to hear. Yeah, it looked like you were having a grand old time up there, giving it looked like a keynote or something. That's very neat. Very neat. For those of you who do not know Deshaun is a Redis alumnus. I believe he works primarily on Spring integrations at VMware Tanzu now. And I saw on LinkedIn that he was giving some talks at the VMware conference that was last week. Anyway, so let's open this up. I'm going to open up the solution first, and then we'll add the console app to it. At some point I will. Oh, there we go. New window. And then Redis Redis OM .NET. And I guess I probably should add both. No, I'm not going to bother writing the POC. We'll just do this straight on the main project. Add existing project. Okay. So, say like my concept here is that I want to be able to do something like this. Our producer as equals task.run. Var connection or var provider new Redis connection. Add Redis OM as a dependency, don't I? New Redis connection provider. Redis colon. Something I've been really interested in is I want to be able to get like a stream from the provider. I want to be able to do like stream message. Let's say we have a message object in here. So say we have a new class message, and that has string name, prop, double, telemetry. And say I had this as a document, and now instead of having a storage type of JSON or hash, I want to have a storage type of stream. Let's say stream. And then what I want to be able to do is get a stream of messages and then run through this. And then just do like a stream.add new message name. Name is temp. Telemetry equals 32.4. To be able to add it like that, and then in a separate consumer task, then I can have an await for each are m in stream and say m dot console dot write line dot message dot name with telemetry of m dot telemetry. What's he complaining about with this? That's cool. Just came across this live. You taught me about pipelining on a thread on Twitter. Was this the one with Spring, the Spring Redis OM one? Where had it? I don't think it had pipelining back then, but now it does. How you doing, Raphael? By the way, welcome to the stream, Raphael. So hold on, I gotta look at my own stream examples for remembering how to invoke these correctly. Yeah, no, that should be right. That should be more or less right. It's probably just barfing on. Wait, do I? No, test not run. And then I can just pass in the thing. Yeah, so that should work just fine. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. So, like for some background, I think it was a bunch of insertion tasks that Raphael was trying to do into Redis Spring, and if you don't pipeline your insertion tasks to Redis, like there's no equivalent of like a SQL insert where you pass in like a million records that you want to insert, and it automatically just shoves everything into a SQL database. Like with Redis, you have to pipeline different commands, which is effectively the same thing, but you're basically sending a packet with a bunch of commands in it, and you're sending that over and over again in the single TCP message, which allows you to do a ton of stuff in one round trip. So what Raphael was tripping up on was Redis OM Spring did not at the time, and I believe it does now, but it did not at the time allow you to pipeline creation messages to Redis. And that was like, he was like, wait a second, this is Redis. I'm inserting 10,000 records into Redis, and it's taking me like an order of seconds, or could have been 10 seconds, or it could have been minutes. I forgot. But it was taking much longer than it should. Realistically, it should have taken like maybe a couple dozen or a couple hundred milliseconds or something like that to insert all those records. Because I think it was on the order of, if I remember correctly, I think it was on the order of like 10,000 records, and it was taking maybe 30 seconds. Am I getting that right? I'm just making these numbers up. I could be totally off. But anyway, yeah, I think that's actually correct. Ask that run async. Yeah, that looks okay. I think it's just being a little weird. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just like being a little odd. But anyway, this is kind of the API that I was hoping to get. I'd like to see one day from Redis OM with streams capabilities, and I guess I could start taking a look at that on stream today, so to say. Yeah, that was it. In the new version, it's super fast indeed. How fast is it? I mean, how many records were you inserting, and how many? I bet you I could just look at Twitter and see what it was. I am not showing people my Twitter feed intentionally. Here we go. So this was the tweet. So I just followed the tutorial to get started with Spring, running Redis stack locally on Docker. I was expecting sub-milliseconds results, but 35 seconds to insert 10,000 objects and 4 mils to select one object. So yeah, that's like not the performance, at least on the insertion side, that I'd be looking for. 4 milliseconds is sort of slow depending on what you're trying to do. Depends what you're trying to do, but everything is local, so that actually does sound pretty long. What did you get those times down to? At least the insertion part. And as I wait for him to respond, I'll just close that. And we'll start looking at this. So I will add a new directory for stream. And I'll add a new class called stream. No, I just closed the darn thing. And that will be type T. And this is probably a good point to open up my old solution that I'd written a while ago for streams. So cd project Redis OM NET cd src Redis code. The author. So this Redis stream object is kind of like what we're gonna look for. And right, so it's taking so the Redis command for xadd is relatively straightforward. I think it just literally blows it up. Yeah, it just takes the object, which is the message, and blows it into a bunch of key value pairs, and it iterates over all of those and initializes a message for it. And then it also has a stream enumerator. Where it iterates over all this. And I don't think I'm going to actually get to all this today. I'm definitely not going to get to all of it today. But anyway, so yeah, this is actually probably more complexity than I want to get into today. So I think I might actually just call it a little early because we did get through everything we kind of wanted to. Like there was a couple of issues that were opened in Redis OM.NET that I wanted to address, and I guess I fixed both of them on stream, and then getting into this bit, I think I probably need to think a little bit more about this. Maybe I'll do more of this next week. No, I won't be doing anything next week because I'm not going to be here next week, so I'll do probably more of this the week after next. So yeah, anyway, thanks everyone for coming out to the stream. I appreciate everyone watching. Raphael, was good catching up with you. Deshaun, was good seeing you. It looks like you did good at the VMware conference. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.